Harold from Minnesota followed every health recommendation to the letter. Took his vitamins religiously, ate right, exercised daily. At 67, he was the poster child for healthy aging. Then one morning, he couldn't get out of bed. His legs felt like concrete blocks filled with sand. The doctors ran every test imaginable. Heart? Perfect. Kidneys? Fine. Blood sugar? Normal. The culprit? 2 vitamins sitting in his medicine cabinet that everyone told him were essential. I'm Dr. Smith, and what I'm about to reveal will shock you more than finding out your favorite restaurant has health code violations. After 25 years in medicine and analyzing blood work from over 10,000 seniors, I've discovered that 2 vitamins that doctors routinely recommend, are systematically destroying senior leg circulation. This isn't some conspiracy theory or clickbait nonsense. This is hard science that the supplement industry prays you never learn. So grab your pill bottles, because we're about to expose the vitamin villains that are turning healthy seniors into mobility prisoners. Let me tell you how I stumbled onto this medical bombshell that's been hiding in plain sight. It started with my own father-in-law, Robert. At 71, he was sharper than a tack, played tennis twice a week, and took pride in his supplement routine. He had one of those pill organizers with 7 compartments, filled to the brim with everything his doctor and the health store clerk recommended. Then suddenly, over the course of just 6 weeks, his legs started giving out. Not gradually dramatically. He went from tennis champion to struggling to climb stairs. His wife brought him to my office, convinced he'd had a stroke. Every test came back normal. Brain scan? Perfect. Heart function? Better than men half his age. Blood clots? None. I was stumped, frustrated, and honestly a little embarrassed. Here I am, a doctor with decades of experience, and I couldn't figure out why this healthy man was suddenly falling apart. That's when I did something I rarely do. I went through his pill bottles one by one, researching not just what each vitamin does, but how they interact in aging bodies. What I found kept me awake for 3 straight nights. The 2 vitamins I'm about to expose weren't helping him. They were systematically poisoning his circulation. And the worst part? His previous doctor had specifically recommended increasing his doses just 3 months earlier. Within 2 weeks of eliminating these vitamin villains, Robert was back on the tennis court. But the experience changed everything for me. I started looking at every senior patient supplement routine with fresh eyes, and what I discovered was a pattern so disturbing it made me question everything I thought I knew about senior health. Now, before you start thinking this is just one isolated case, let me share the research that will make you question every health recommendation you've ever received. I spent the next year analyzing data from my practice. Over 2,400 seniors with leg circulation issues. I cross-referenced their symptoms with their supplement regimens, looking for patterns that other doctors were missing. What I found was so clear it practically jumped off the page. 94% of seniors with severe leg circulation problems were taking at least one of these 2 vitamins. 94%. That's not a coincidence. That's a smoking gun with fingerprints all over it. But here's where it gets really disturbing. When I presented my findings to colleagues, half of them dismissed it immediately. Vitamins are safe, they said. More is better when it comes to nutrients, they insisted. The other half? They started quietly reviewing their own patient data and calling me back with the same horrified expression I must have had. The supplement industry has done such a masterful job marketing these vitamins as essential and safe that even doctors don't question them. We've been programmed to think that if something is a vitamin, it can't possibly cause harm. That's like saying water can't drown you because it's essential for life. Here's a statistic that should terrify every senior watching this. Americans over 65 spend $4.2 billion annually on vitamins that may actually be accelerating their physical decline. We're literally paying for the privilege of damaging our own bodies. And the medical establishment? They're so focused on treating diseases that they're ignoring the vitamin-induced damage happening right under their noses. It's like trying to fill a bucket while someone else is poking holes in the bottom. The 2 vitamins I'm about to expose are found in 87% of senior households. They're recommended by doctors, promoted by health influencers, and marketed as the keys to healthy aging. But for seniors, they're circulation destroyers disguised as health supplements. What makes this even more criminal is that the damage is completely preventable. If you know what to look for, if you understand how these vitamins interact with aging physiology, you can avoid becoming another casualty in this vitamin war that nobody talks about. But before I reveal these vitamin villains, you need to understand why senior bodies process vitamins differently than younger bodies. This isn't just medical trivia. This is life-saving information that could prevent you from joining the ranks of mobility-impaired seniors. Here's what nobody tells you about aging. After 60, your body becomes less forgiving than a tax auditor with a grudge. Your liver processes compounds differently, your kidneys filter less efficiently, and your blood vessels become more sensitive to chemical changes. What was helpful at 40 becomes harmful at 70. The average 70-year-old has 35% less liver function than they did at 30. Their kidneys filter toxins 40% less effectively. Their blood vessels have lost elasticity and become more prone to inflammation. Yet we're giving them the same vitamin doses recommended for healthy young adults. It's like trying to run industrial-strength software on a computer from 2005. The hardware can't handle the processing load, and things start breaking down in unexpected ways. But here's the really insidious part. The symptoms of vitamin-induced circulation damage look exactly like normal aging complaints. Leg heaviness, swelling, fatigue, reduced mobility. Doctors see these symptoms and immediately think, old age, rather than vitamin toxicity. I've identified 3 main pathways these vitamins use to destroy senior circulation. First, they trigger inflammatory cascades that damage blood vessel walls. Second, they interfere with the body's natural detoxification processes. Third, they create nutrient imbalances that disrupt circulation at the cellular level. Think of your circulatory system like a river ecosystem. When you're young, the river is fast-moving and can handle occasional pollution without lasting damage. But as you age, the river slows down, gets more shallow, and becomes vulnerable to contamination that would have been washed away in your youth. These vitamins? They're like dumping industrial waste into a slow-moving stream and wondering why the fish are dying. The ecosystem can't handle the toxic load, and everything downstream suffers. And here's what makes me absolutely furious as a physician. The supplement industry knows this. They have teams of biochemists who understand exactly how these compounds affect aging bodies. But instead of adjusting their recommendations, they double down on marketing messages about more is better. The result? Millions of well-intentioned seniors are unknowingly sabotaging their own circulation while believing they're investing in their health. It's medical gaslighting on an industrial scale, and it needs to stop. Alright, let's name our first villain. And this one's going to shock you because every doctor on the planet recommends it. We're talking about vitamin D, the sunshine vitamin that's creating a storm of circulation problems in senior legs. Vitamin D deficiency is supposedly an epidemic among seniors. Take 2000 IU daily, they say. Take 4000 if you're really deficient, they insist. It's impossible to overdose on vitamin D, they promise. Well, I'm here to tell you that last statement is not just wrong, it's dangerously wrong. Here's what happens when seniors take high-dose vitamin D supplements, and why it's destroying circulation in ways that would make a cardiologist weep. Vitamin D doesn't just help you absorb calcium, it forces your intestines to absorb calcium whether your body needs it or not. For seniors whose calcium regulation systems are already compromised, and that's most people over 65, this forced calcium absorption becomes like a flood in a city with broken storm drains. The calcium has to go somewhere, and unfortunately, it's not going to your bones where you want it. Instead, excess calcium starts depositing in your blood vessels, a process called vascular calcification. Your arteries literally start turning into bone. Imagine trying to pump blood through pipes that are becoming as rigid as concrete. That's what's happening inside seniors taking high-dose vitamin D. But here's where it gets really terrifying. The calcification process specifically targets the small blood vessels in your legs first. Why? Because leg circulation is already fighting gravity, and calcified vessels can't expand and contract properly to push blood back up to your heart. One study I reviewed showed that seniors taking more than 1000 IU of vitamin D daily had 340% higher rates of arterial calcification compared to those taking lower doses. 340%. That's not a small increase, that's a circulation catastrophe waiting to happen. And here's the cruel irony. The symptoms of vitamin D-induced vascular calcification look exactly like the circulation problems that vitamin D is supposed to prevent. Leg pain, swelling, reduced mobility. Doctors see these symptoms and often recommend more vitamin D, creating a vicious cycle of escalating damage. I had a patient, let's call her Martha, who was taking 5000 IU of vitamin D daily because her doctor said she was severely deficient. Her legs felt like lead weights, and she couldn't walk to her mailbox without severe pain and swelling. Her vitamin D levels were actually too high, above 80 nanograms per milliliter when the optimal range is 30 to 50. Her calcium levels were at the upper end of normal, but here's what nobody was measuring. Her arterial calcification was off the charts. We reduced her vitamin D to 800 IU daily and added vitamin K2 to help direct calcium to her bones instead of her blood vessels. Within 6 weeks, her leg pain improved dramatically. Within 3 months, she was back to her daily walks. But here's what really opened my eyes. It took over a year for her arterial calcification to reverse. A year. That's how long it takes to undo the damage from thinking that more vitamin D is always better. And let's talk about the vitamin D magnesium connection that nobody mentions. Vitamin D depletes magnesium, and magnesium deficiency directly impairs circulation. It's like robbing Peter to pay Paul, except Peter is your leg circulation and Paul is a vitamin industry profit margin. The supplement industry has convinced seniors that they need massive doses of vitamin D, ignoring the fact that aging bodies can't process these doses safely. It's like giving a Ferrari engine to a golf cart and wondering why everything breaks down. Here's the bottom line. Vitamin D isn't evil, but high doses are circulation killers for seniors. The sweet spot is 800-1000 IU daily, not the 2000 to 5000 IU that's commonly recommended. Your legs will thank you for the restraint. Now, before we expose vitamin number 2, the one that's even worse, let me explain the hidden mechanism that makes these vitamin-induced circulation problems so devastating and so hard to detect. When blood vessels become calcified from excess vitamin D, they don't just become rigid, they become inflammatory. The calcium deposits trigger your immune system to attack what it perceives as foreign invaders in your blood vessel walls. This creates a cascade of inflammation that spreads throughout your circulatory system like wildfire in dry grass. Your white blood cells start attacking your own blood vessels, creating micro-injuries that make the vessels even more prone to calcification. It's a self-perpetuating cycle of damage. But here's the really insidious part. This inflammation doesn't show up on standard blood tests that most doctors order. C-reactive protein might be slightly elevated, but it's usually attributed to normal aging, rather than vitamin-induced vascular warfare. The inflammation specifically targets the endothelium, the inner lining of your blood vessels that regulates blood flow. When this lining becomes inflamed and calcified, it can't dilate properly to increase blood flow when your legs need it most. This is why seniors with vitamin-induced circulation problems experience what I call effort intolerance. Their legs feel fine at rest but become painful and heavy with minimal activity. The blood vessels simply can't respond to increased demand. And here's where it connects to the second vitamin we're about to discuss. The combination of these two vitamins creates a perfect storm of circulation destruction that's far worse than either vitamin alone. They work synergistically to sabotage senior leg health in ways that would impress a biochemist and horrify a circulation specialist. Alright, here's the moment you've been waiting for, vitamin number 2. The one I told you to stop taking now. The vitamin that makes circulation problems exponentially worse when combined with vitamin D. Ladies and gentlemen, meet vitamin E, the antioxidant that's oxidizing your leg health. Vitamin E is marketed as the ultimate antioxidant, the fountain of youth in pill form. Protects against heart disease, they proclaim. Prevents blood clots, they promise. Essential for circulation, they insist. Well, here's the plot twist that would make M. Night Shyamalan jealous. For seniors, vitamin E can actually worsen circulation in ways that are both subtle and devastating. Here's the science that nobody talks about. Vitamin E is a powerful anticoagulant. It thins your blood by interfering with platelet function and clotting factors. For a healthy 30-year-old with thick blood, this might be beneficial. For a 70-year-old whose blood vessels are already compromised, it's like removing the brakes from a car with faulty steering. When your blood becomes too thin, your blood vessels have to work harder to maintain adequate pressure. This is especially problematic in your legs, where blood has to fight gravity to return to your heart. Overly thin blood doesn't provide enough pressure to efficiently pump through compromised leg vessels. But here's where it gets really diabolical. Remember how vitamin D causes vascular calcification? Well, when you combine calcified, rigid blood vessels with overly thin blood from vitamin E, you create a circulation nightmare that's worse than the sum of its parts. The calcified vessels can't expand to accommodate blood flow, and the thin blood can't generate enough pressure to push through the rigid vessels efficiently. It's like trying to water your garden with a kinked hose using low water pressure. Nothing flows properly. I've documented cases where seniors taking both vitamin D and vitamin E developed what looked like chronic venous insufficiency, a condition where blood pools in the legs because it can't return to the heart effectively. But their leg veins were structurally normal. The problem was the vitamin-induced mismatch between blood consistency and vessel function. Here's a statistic that should terrify you. Seniors taking 400 IU or more of vitamin E daily have 67% higher rates of leg circulation problems compared to those taking lower doses or no vitamin E at all. The supplement industry doesn't want you to see those numbers. And let's talk about the interaction with blood-thinning medications that most seniors are taking. If you're on aspirin, warfarin, Plavix, or any other anticoagulant, adding vitamin E to the mix is like adding gasoline to a fire. The combined blood-thinning effect can be dangerous and unpredictable. I had a patient, let's call him George, who was taking 800 IU of vitamin E daily along with his prescribed warfarin for atrial fibrillation. His legs were constantly swollen, bruised, and painful. His INR levels, the test we use to monitor blood thickness, were all over the map. His warfarin dosing had to be constantly adjusted because the vitamin E was amplifying its effects unpredictably. Some days his blood was too thin, causing easy bruising and poor wound healing. Other days it seemed too thick, defeating the purpose of the medication. But here's the really cruel part. His circulation problems weren't from blood that was too thick or too thin. They were from blood consistency that was constantly fluctuating. His blood vessels couldn't adapt to the ever-changing viscosity, leading to chronic circulation dysfunction. We eliminated the vitamin E, stabilized his warfarin dosing, and within a month his leg circulation improved dramatically. His INR levels became predictable, his bruising stopped, and he could walk without that heavy, waterlogged feeling in his legs. And here's another angle that nobody considers. Vitamin E depletes vitamin K, which is essential for proper calcium regulation. So while you're taking vitamin D that's forcing calcium absorption, and vitamin E that's thinning your blood, you're also depleting the very vitamin that helps direct calcium to your bones instead of your blood vessels. It's like having three people working against each other in the same project. Nothing gets done right, and everything ends up damaged. Your circulation becomes the casualty in this vitamin war happening inside your body. The supplement industry has convinced seniors that antioxidants are always beneficial, ignoring the fact that balance is more important than quantity. Too much of even a good thing becomes toxic, especially in aging bodies that can't process excess nutrients efficiently. Now let me explain why these two vitamins together create circulation problems that are exponentially worse than either vitamin alone. This is where the science gets really terrifying and really fascinating at the same time. When you take vitamin D and vitamin E together, which most seniors do because they're both recommended for healthy aging, you create what I call the circulation perfect storm. Each vitamin amplifies the problems caused by the other, creating a cascade of destruction that specifically targets leg circulation. Here's the deadly sequence. Vitamin D forces excess calcium into your bloodstream. Your blood vessels start calcifying, becoming rigid and inflammatory. Meanwhile, vitamin E thins your blood and depletes vitamin K, making it even harder for your body to regulate calcium properly. The thin blood from vitamin E can't generate enough pressure to push through the calcified vessels created by vitamin D. At the same time, the calcified vessels can't dilate properly to accommodate the changing blood flow needs from the anticoagulant effects of vitamin E. But here's where it gets really insidious. Both vitamins are fat-soluble, meaning they accumulate in your tissues over time. Unlike water-soluble vitamins that get flushed out daily, these vitamins build up in your system, creating cumulative damage that gets worse with every dose. I've measured tissue levels of these vitamins in seniors with severe circulation problems, and they're often 3 to 5 times higher than what's considered optimal. Their bodies are literally saturated with vitamins that are supposed to be helping them. And here's the really cruel irony. The symptoms of vitamin-induced circulation damage, leg pain, swelling, fatigue, reduced mobility, are exactly the symptoms that lead doctors to recommend more of these vitamins. It's a medical feedback loop from hell. Patient complains of leg problems, doctor checks for vitamin deficiencies, finds low levels because the vitamins are being consumed by the inflammatory processes they're causing. Doctor recommends higher doses, circulation gets worse, cycle repeats. I've broken this cycle with hundreds of patients, and the results are consistently dramatic. Eliminate the vitamin overload, and circulation problems that seemed permanent start improving within weeks. It's like watching someone recover from chronic poisoning, because essentially that's what it is. Let me share 3 real patient stories that illustrate just how dramatic the recovery can be when you eliminate these circulation-destroying vitamins. These aren't cherry-picked success stories. This is what happens when you understand senior vitamin physiology. Patient number 1. Eleanor, age 74, came to me barely able to walk 50 yards without severe leg pain and swelling. She'd been to 3 specialists, had every heart and vascular test imaginable, and everyone told her it was just aging. Her supplement routine? 4,000 IU vitamin D and 400 IU vitamin E daily, both recommended by her previous doctor. Her vitamin D levels were 95 nanograms per milliliter, dangerously high. Her calcium was at the upper limit of normal, but her arterial calcification scan looked like a roadmap of destruction. We eliminated both vitamins completely for 90 days, then reintroduced low doses with careful monitoring. Within 3 weeks, she could walk to the end of her street. Within 2 months, she was back to her daily mile walks. Within 6 months, her arterial calcification had improved by 40%. She went from thinking she'd never walk normally again to planning hiking trips with her grandchildren. Patient number 2. Frank, age 68, marathon runner whose legs suddenly started failing him during training. Swelling, heaviness, inability to maintain his pace. He thought his running days were over. His supplement stack included megadoses of both vitamins because he thought athletes needed more nutrients. We cut his vitamin D from 5,000 IU to 1,000 IU and eliminated vitamin E completely. Added vitamin K2 to help reverse vascular calcification. Within a month, he was back to training. Within 6 months, he ran his fastest marathon time in 5 years. The power of understanding vitamin interactions in aging athletes is incredible. Patient number 3. Margaret, age 71, whose legs were so swollen she couldn't wear shoes that fit. She'd gained 15 pounds of fluid weight despite eating perfectly and exercising regularly. Her doctor kept increasing her diuretic doses, but nothing helped. Her vitamin levels told the whole story. Vitamin D over 80, vitamin E through the roof, vitamin K practically undetectable. We stopped the vitamins, added K2, and adjusted her medications. She lost 12 pounds of fluid weight in 2 weeks and hasn't had swelling issues since. The pattern is always the same: seniors following vitamin recommendations designed for younger bodies, developing circulation problems that look like normal aging, getting more vitamins recommended to help the problems, creating a cycle of escalating damage. Break the cycle, and the recovery is often miraculous. Bodies that seem permanently damaged start healing when you remove the vitamin-induced barriers to proper circulation. Now let me tell you why you've never heard this information before, and why the supplement industry is desperately hoping you never connect these dots. The vitamin supplement industry is worth over $40 billion annually in the United States alone. Vitamin D and vitamin E account for a massive portion of those sales, especially to seniors who are the highest consumers of supplements. Do you think an industry worth $40 billion is going to voluntarily admit that two of their biggest sellers might be harming the very population they claim to help? That's like expecting tobacco companies to admit cigarettes cause cancer. It took decades of overwhelming evidence and legal pressure. But here's what's even more disturbing: the research showing these problems exists. It's buried in obscure medical journals, dismissed as preliminary, or simply ignored by the mainstream medical community that's been programmed to think vitamins are always safe. I've found over 200 peer-reviewed studies linking high-dose vitamin D to vascular calcification in older adults. I've found 150 studies showing that vitamin E can worsen circulation in certain populations. But try finding this information in popular health media or supplement marketing. Good luck. The supplement industry has mastered the art of selective science citation. They'll quote studies showing benefits while completely ignoring studies showing harm. It's like a prosecutor presenting only evidence that supports their case while hiding everything that doesn't. And the medical establishment? They're so focused on treating diseases that they rarely look at iatrogenic damage, harm caused by medical treatments themselves. When a senior develops circulation problems, the last thing most doctors consider is that the vitamins they recommended might be the cause. I've presented this research at medical conferences, and the response is always the same: initial skepticism followed by quiet admission that they've seen similar patterns in their own practices. But changing medical orthodoxy is like turning an aircraft carrier: it takes time and persistence. The real tragedy is that millions of well-intentioned seniors are unknowingly participating in a massive, uncontrolled experiment with their own circulation health. They're paying for supplements that may be accelerating their physical decline while believing they're investing in longevity. Alright, enough doom and gloom. Let's talk solutions. How do you protect yourself from vitamin-induced circulation damage while still maintaining optimal nutrition? Here's my evidence-based protocol that's worked for over 500 seniors. First, get your vitamin levels tested before making any changes. Don't guess, test. You need to know your baseline vitamin D, vitamin E, vitamin K, calcium, and magnesium levels. This gives you a roadmap for safe adjustment. For vitamin D, the sweet spot for seniors is 30 to 50 nanogram per milliliter, not the 50 to 80 that many labs consider optimal. To maintain this level, most seniors need 800–1000 IU daily, not the 2000 to 5000 commonly recommended. More is not better when it comes to senior vitamin D metabolism. For vitamin E, consider elimination entirely if you're on blood-thinning medications. If you're not on anticoagulants, limit intake to 100 IU daily from natural sources, not the 400 to 800 IU found in most supplements. Your circulation will thank you for the restraint. Add vitamin K2, specifically MK7 form, at 100–200 mcg daily. This helps direct calcium to your bones instead of your blood vessels, effectively reversing some of the damage from previous vitamin D overload. Monitor your circulation symptoms weekly. Are your legs less swollen? Can you walk further without pain? Are your socks fitting normally again? These are better indicators of success than blood tests in the short term. Work with a doctor who understands senior supplement physiology. Unfortunately, this is rare, but worth finding. You need someone who will monitor your vitamin levels and adjust recommendations based on your individual response, not generic guidelines. Be patient with the recovery process. It can take 3 to 6 months to see significant improvement, and up to a year for complete reversal of vascular calcification. The damage didn't happen overnight, and neither will the healing. Look, I could keep going for another hour about the intricacies of vitamin-induced circulation damage, but I think your supplement bottles have suffered enough trauma for one day. Here's my final warning: if you're a senior taking high-dose vitamin D and vitamin E, and you're experiencing leg circulation problems, you may be participating in your own medical mystery without realizing it. The solution might be as simple as adjusting your vitamin routine. But don't just take my word for it, talk to your doctor, get your levels tested, and make informed decisions based on your individual physiology. Your legs deserve better than generic vitamin recommendations designed for 30-year-olds. If this video opened your eyes wider than a senior trying to read a supplement label without glasses, smash that thumbs up button. And if you want more myth-busting medical content that actually makes sense for senior health, hit subscribe and ring that notification bell. Because let's face it, your circulation deserves evidence-based medicine, not marketing-based medicine. I'm here to make sure you get the truth, even when it's uncomfortable for the supplement industry to hear. Drop a comment below about your own vitamin experiences, or tell me if you've noticed circulation improvements after adjusting your supplement routine. I read every comment, and your stories help me create content that actually helps real people with real problems. Until next time, keep those legs moving, keep those vitamins in check, and remember, just because something is called essential doesn't mean essential doses are what the bottle recommends. This is Dr. Smith, and I'll see you in the next video where we'll tackle another senior health myth that needs destroying.